Hi all, it's me again. So this is another update for what's going on, so that I can look back and see my progress and determine what I should be doing next. So, um, so nothing is necessarily apparent for what's been happening, but I'll just tell you what's been happening. So basically, uh, I'm potentially going to get a job in San Mateo at this company because of a recommendation through a previous classmate that I connected with and decided to continue talking to for a while. She put in an excellent word for me, and I don't know what she said, but it resonated with the head manager, and it's in the Bay Area, so San Mateo. But I might actually end up working there. I'm not going to say what the company is, but if that works out, then that's my foot in the door. So other than that, I have an interview tomorrow, a Skype interview tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. But which should go pretty well because I could just tell them everything. So it's for a ship company, so it sounds like it would be a nice place to work. It's in Virginia, so that'll be if that works out, I will take that. So. But other than that, I've been reacquainting myself with old friends because they were like, "Oh, are you around? Are you around?" I said yes, and some of them are also having some hard times finding jobs. But one of them is still in school because he just can't focus well enough to get passing grades. So he and I talk a lot, and because he knows that I'm pretty good when it comes to self-discipline, so he asks me a lot of questions about it, and then I kind of get my advice, or the advice I accrue advice from other people and things I read and stuff, and I kind of compress it into something that makes sense to me, and a lot of it is YouTube, but other than that, it's very apparent that guy that I met up with is doesn't have very much principles about him, or discipline, or willpower, if you want to call it that. Because like if he and I were together, he would want to go to a random restaurant and start eating like shit, and I'd be like, dude, wait, what are you talking about? You actually want to eat all that stuff like right now? We're just barely seeing each other or whatever. Whereas like with me, I might feel like I need the impulse to get it like late at night, and it would just be some small burrito or something. But basically, yeah. So that's how you know this guy does not have that much self control. Is not very self disciplined. That's one piece of evidence, but it's like also other things too. Like obviously he's not passing his classes. He's doing business administration. I think that's his major. But anyway, that kind of shows you what like the average. He kind of represents the average of people who just kind of throw themselves into school expecting magic to happen. And it doesn't actually happen because they chose worthless degrees. Anyway, so other than that, with the two job opportunities, I've been doing a lot of. I haven't really been reading a lot, but I've been helping my dad a lot, and so I've been developing a closer relationship with my father, who's a teacher, and a lot of people stay away from him. His kids stay away from him because he doesn't really treat them with respect like he should. But it's very complicated. He does and he doesn't. He does in the sense that like at the end of the day he'll try to make up for whatever losses he caused for you, but they're losses nonetheless. So he might waste your time, get like his kids, like he might pull his kids in and say, okay, here you go. Like, I'll take you out for lunch, and then he might say something like, you got to do all this shit for me or whatever. And then it just wastes all your time. It doesn't matter what age you are, if you're 24, if you're 25. And even if you're the top management, he'll still get you to do that, being a kid. Now, obviously, I haven't gotten to that point, so I don't know if that's true entirely, but I'm pretty sure it is, because like no matter what I was doing, he was always like that. So whenever I'm with him, like I can't get any of my own shit done. It's just because that's just the way he is. Like he doesn't know how to respect other people's time. But I mean, I imagine a lot of people are like that. So it's not really anything bad. But basically, as a consequence of me putting up with, his shit, he was like, I'm looking at your situation, and I agree. It's bullshit that you haven't had a job after a year. You chose civil engineering. That's a practical degree. He said, it doesn't make any sense. It's such bullshit. He agrees with me on that account. So he said, well, you have a plan that you want to go network, right? You don't have a car yet. You never had a car. So he decided to give me his 2013 Toyota Corolla. And we're still in the process of getting it in my name. That will be my first car. And I'll be using it for things like going to ASCE chapter meetings and networking in other ways, and also doing volunteer work for Habitat for Humanity, which I would do construction work for people that are trying to get repairs, and they just say, hey, can you help me out here? They ask the organization. And it's usually older people, I guess. But that looks really good on a resume. And it's good for networking too. Especially if you graduated, such as me, like if I graduated, they would think the same thing. They would say, that's bullshit. You haven't had a job yet. So that puts pressure on them to help me out. And by the way, that's what I would call free will pressure, because you could have the pressure where you're forcing someone else to do something for you, but that's free will pressure. In other words, it's going to be in their own will to reciprocate, very likely, because that's just the way it is. Like if you have a degree and stuff, you would think maybe they look down at you and say, oh, well, you're a lazy ass or something. But actually, it's quite the opposite, especially when you went to a good school. It's like there is a good percentage of people. I went to UC Berkeley. It's the top school. There is a gigantic percentage of people who actually would go out there and say, would reciprocate upon the fact that you need help, the fact that I would need help. So that is a good idea to go ahead and do. Obviously, it's like I wouldn't just bullshit my way through the volunteer because it's something that actually sounds fun and relevant to what I want to do. Somewhat relevant, because it's like you're doing the hands-on thing. When I was going to school, I never had you could say, opportunity or the pleasure. I don't know the pleasure to actually do construction, even though we were designing structural members. Saying, okay, well, let's put this section here. Maybe it's an I member or a T section, whatever the case might be. Or just regular rectangular or whatever, and then we even considered the direction of I want to say the stress direction, depending upon what type of stress you have. All that stuff you consider when you're designing the member, but we never actually went and got a hammer or any tools and put things together. In fact, you don't really have to do that if you do engineering, structural engineering. You would only do that if you're doing construction, like if you're an actual blue-collar dude doing construction. But the fact that it's related and it's connected to people that are possibly pursuing civil engineering means it's an excellent idea to pursue. It's an excellent thing to pursue. I am expecting some people to give me shit, but that theoretically just doesn't matter if you think of all of the benefits. which is the fact that there's that pressure for people to say, oh, yeah, okay, well, maybe we'll help you out. I know some guy that you might be able to talk to, things like that. So, but other than that, that's the thing that's going on. And, I just keep applying every day, just as I normally do. And of course, over the last year since I started doing this, I did gain weight. I looked at the scale. I'm 196. I was 188 a year ago. So yeah, I gained 8 pounds. And I'm perfectly fine with that as long as it just it's not egregious. Like, I don't go to like 215 or something. But basically, maybe about 2 or 3 days ago, I'm just like, well, let's look at reality. Let's look at what's going on with you now. Now that I have a car, it's like really easy to just go, hey, the gym is maybe 20 minutes away using car. Go use the car to go to the gym. It might be a little bit of a cost, but at the end of the day, all you got to do is go there, run for maybe an hour, and then that's it. You don't even have to lift weights. Now that's how I see it. Every morning, my plan is to get up maybe at 8 or something, 9, use the car, and just go on the Stairmaster, and just that's it. The other thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to avoid basically all fast food stuff. Like, as I've said in my other videos, in the last like 4 months, this is pretty much like where I've gained the most weight. I would say probably 4 pounds comes from the last 4 months. Is the fact that, I would say more like 5 pounds, comes from the fact that I just say, okay, well, let me go to Taco Bell. And even though they're small burritos, I go to Taco Bell like maybe once every day or every other day. It's pretty bad. It's not like, but even though it's not a burger, it's still like pretty fattening. So I'll do that instead. Instead, I could just be eating eggs or something. Or carrots or something like that. It doesn't have to be. And so now that I have the car, it's like, oh, now I could just go to the grocery store or whatever to get my own food. And so that'll be pretty nice. But I'm hoping and pretty sure that I'll commit to this. If I don't, then I'm gonna have to look back on these videos and really consider where I'm going and why just basically reconsider what I'm about, because obesity is a failure mode as far as I'm concerned. So I don't want to get into that direction. As long as I'm like, as long as I'm not like, it's not affecting how I work, how I understand things, which it does. Like when I'm heavy enough, I can't even focus. Like, I don't know why. Like I remember when I was 215 pounds, I don't know why it would just be it would be more difficult to just sit down and read something without feeling like, like I was going to pass out or something. But, I'm still like, no matter what, like I could just say I'm fat. I don't really care, but, somebody could tell me I'm fat. I don't even give a shit. The only thing that matters really is if it relates to the things that I want. So do I want a good looking body? Not necessarily. Do I want to have good companionship? Sure. I mean, there's certain loopholes for that. But is it difficult to get companionship regardless of your weight? Yes, it is. Let's think of the range for obtaining companionship. The range is basically, obviously 0, right? And then 25%. So I've been doing more research, and I've been told that to play the female game of trying to date someone, which you could say I'm too much of a pussy to do it because I don't really care to do it, but the range is between 0 and 25%. So even if you're the best looking guy ever, if you just apply this algorithm where you're just constantly saying, okay, I see this random chick, let me ask her out, let me ask her out, let me ask her out. The best that you can do, the top percentage for success is 25%. And by the way, this comes from a video I watched. And then that comes from this guy who did the test, his name is Roosh V, if you want to look him up. But I don't know what video it comes from, but this is relying on what he said, and I'm not sure if it's true. But 25%, if you think about that, that's pretty low, and which means that you have to have an enormous amount of will. I want to say like determination, just to get that female companionship, which to me is absolutely ridiculous. Now, I'm not MGTOW, but on the other hand, I would rather look out for loopholes than to go out and just try to hunt for chicks. Because if his is 25%, I'm probably like 5%. I don't know what it is, but anyway, let's just hope I don't run into the same chick to ask them out again, right? Anyway, I'm not going to do that. So I just think unless your life is like a man's life is so self-actualized, they should not be going out and doing that because the statistics are just so skewed against the man. So, from one point of view, they shouldn't. But from the point of view in which, you're a pussy if you don't, then I guess you're just a pussy. Like, maybe I'm just a pussy. Like, there's a lot of evidence for someone to support that I'm just a pussy because, like, for example, I have like these tits. I'm kind of fat, and so when you look at me, you listen to these words, you can say that I'm a pussy for that, and I'm a beta cuck or whatever. But it's just but if you look at it from the other side, it's more like it's just not worth it. I mean, you could say it's a beta way to think that way, but I think it's just not worth it. It's worth more so coming up with either loopholes in what you're doing or getting more information for how to proceed because even if you were successful, you'd probably ruin you anyway. So I don't know, but I mean, I guess if it was a higher priority for me, then I would act more alpha about it. But they're kind of right about acting beta about it. But it's not really a huge priority. I mean, companionship, I would like it, but it's not really a big deal. So, but that's one thing I've been kind of thinking about because it gets a little bit lonely when you're just constantly trying to do this one thing. But anyway, I do know of one loophole. So if there's some guys out there that are watching this, if you have humility, you don't care if somebody says you're a stalker, or a creep or whatever, or even considered a beta, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter to you, what you could do, and this is kind of funny, but it could depend on location. So in the Philippines, oh my God, it is not skewed towards women. It's about 50-50. So your chance of getting female approval is like 50%. It's even if you're like me. So there's like no risk there. There's no like, there's nothing. You don't have to do. It's like as soon as you find someone from the Philippines, even if it's through a social media platform, they might just reciprocate. And so that's been happening with me. I've been talking to some chicks from the Philippines, and obviously, like, there's the argument that when they come over to the USA, they become that way where where suddenly they get spoiled and they become spoiled for choice and they don't want to talk to you because you're considered like not worth anything, as the usual female is here. Then they might do that, but it's worth it regardless, I think. But I could be wrong, but I've been talking to them and it's been working out pretty well. I even tested it. I said, okay, well, let me find a new one and see what would happen. And by the way, this person is actually reciprocated to me at the end of the day. So I said, I'm going to go here and I'm going to be as direct as I can. I'm going to say, I'm going to call you right now. Do you want me to call you? And in fact, it was my confidence in my alpha state towards that person was so much that like now they're like they want me to see them in real life. It's insane. Like an average woman in the USA won't even do that. I mean, let me give you an example. I happen to have gotten a Tinder match in which this person, she has a college degree and everything. She's a liberal arts chick. I started talking to her because I was like, oh, maybe this is going to work. And it's been since for about a month. But it turned out to be complete bullshit. Like, even though I was being direct after a while, she was still like not reciprocating, underdeveloped sense of reciprocity. She was not reciprocating, and she just kept saying, why? So she doesn't even want to talk to me on the phone. She doesn't want to see me in real life. None of that. Even though we chat like on Snapchat and some other platforms, she does not want to see me. Even though I even have a car, she doesn't want to see me. It's so ridiculous, man. I mean, this is just the way they are here. But then all of a sudden you get this female from the Philippines, you're not even in the same location, and she's still willing to reciprocate that way, talk to you on the phone, and even telling you, like, when are you going to fly to the Philippines? It is so, like, that is considered a loophole. Thank goodness Mark Zuckerberg came up with Facebook, because you could do that same thing with Facebook. It is a loophole you could find through Facebook. Find someone from the Philippines, and then eventually you can find them through the friend list. Now, again, if you don't care about being considered being a stalker, that's the way to do it. That's what you could do. And also other countries. You should be able to test other countries out. But yeah, I mean, that's the way to do it. Now, some other people would also say, well, maybe you should go to Thailand and get and try to bang Thai chicks so that it becomes irrelevant to your life. You could do that too, but it depends on your purpose. Like for me, just like some other people that are in my situation, we just want female companionship. I mean, it's gotten to a point where that our interests, engineering and all that stuff is doesn't match the average, and it seems boring that nobody wants to spend time with us. So, or like talk to us about it. But like even the chicks from Philippines, like a lot of them are into engineering too. So they'll reciprocate, I think. Anyway, that's just out for the guys out there that are desperate or trying to have female companionship. But yeah. Anyway, which by the way isn't like the number one thing, but it is something that irks you after a while. The other thing too that I've been trying to start again is the FE videos, because I noticed that it's gaining popularity. There's about 23 likes and 1,000 views. That's probably my most viewed video in a very long time. Anyway, but other than that, like I said, I keep applying, and I'm gonna do that Habitat for Humanity volunteer work. And by the way, that bitch I talked to you about on Snapchat, I'm not going to talk to her anymore. I declared yesterday that's just a complete waste of my time. She just keeps asking why, and not being direct at all. So there's nothing I can say to where that it'll cause me to meet up with her, and it's just not going to happen. I should have sensed this from her choices, like the fact that she's a liberal arts major. That is a red flag automatically. So. That she's going to be a complete waste of time. She's going to give you shit and all that. And I mean, that's just something to consider. Yeah, so that's what's been going on. And by the way, if you think that I'm beta in this area and think that I'm beta in all other areas, you'll be completely wrong. I think I'm pretty alpha, and I'm fairly alpha in other areas because those are things that I'm interested in primarily. Chicks are just pretty much a distraction from the things that I really want. But it's all about that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because if you're just doing this stuff like all day and stuff, you get lonely and you feel depressed. I mean, that's the other thing that's been going on with me, is I've been feeling a little bit depressed after about a year of looking for a job. It's like, what's going on here? I have somewhat a light depression. And so now it takes a lot more time and effort to go through positive affirmations to put me back into the energy, the level of energy that I'm used to having. So working out helps too, but ultimately I'm in such a bad position. I'm in such a bad position that even working out is like, it's not going to do it. I really have to sit down and say, this is what's going on. This is why you're doing this. This is what you need to do. Keep moving, keep steady. Remember, most people don't have their hand on the flame. This is what you're trying to do. So I just keep going through positive affirmations, and it tends to help. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I'm also trying to go back and learn a little bit, trying to apply Revit and learn it a little bit because it's slightly different than AutoCAD, but it's still useful for my major. So what I'm trying to do is, that's right. I've been applying for grad school to get an MS in structural engineering. And I don't know if I'm going to get accepted to any school, but I've applied to 4 places. And I got the 3 letter of recommendations that I needed. What else? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, hopefully I'll also get around to, which, I mean, I'm not trying to say hopefully in the sense that, it's not going to happen. It's going to happen. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to happen, where I'm going to sit down and conceptualize a 15-story building. And I'm going to do the architectural outline. I'm going to put something on paper, but then when I'm finished, so I'm not sure what it's going to be like quite yet. It may not be a 15-story building. It could be a concert hall. Whatever the case might be, I'm going to conceptualize it, and then I'm going to draw it in Revit. So when I draw it in Revit, then I'm going to do design calculations. But ultimately, what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to have another project for my resume so that employers can see it. Originally, I did the other thing, which I didn't really even finish because there's so much to it. But I'm hoping to get a finite element software to download, which is SAP 2000, which is a pain in the ass to actually download, to use for this project, so that I don't have to go through all those calculations by hand. I don't know if it's going to be possible to do this because it's just like they make it so hard to download that software, because normally it costs thousands of dollars to actually get so that you could use it for your projects. There's something called, I forgot what it's called, but there's another software out there that's similar to SAP 2000, which I might be able to get instead. Oh, RamSteel. There we go. It's called RamSteel. So I'm gonna see what I can do, but typically those structural finite element analysis design programs are so difficult to download. They sort of come in waves. Sometimes there's like a hack for it, and then you can't really do it for some reason after a while, and then it comes in waves. I had it for a while, and then it just stopped, so I had to delete it. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. But the alternative, if I can't download it, is going to a school that has it on their computers. So that's another thing I'm trying to do with the car, is going over there to visit so that I can use their computers to essentially to save time, so that I have something in writing that what I conceptualize is structurally sound. So anyway, that's all I have for today. It is January 9th, 2018. Thank you for watching.